Hello everyone, on to scenario number 6 in the campaign now. So this is the final scenario, and then after this has been completed we have to work out the progress on the, I forget what they called it, like ascending the Throne of Thunder map. Anyway, that's for a future video. So Ajua won the last scenario, so he gets to choose the first option in terms of journeying between the adventures. So he's going to go for over swift water. So for that we roll a d6 and he's got a success. So that means he ticks off 2 boxes on the spiritual link track. So 2 boxes on that means he is now up to 6 points. And then for random events, roll a d8 and it's another success. A pleasant surprise, you make a discovery of your choice. You may only choose, however, a discovery that you have not yet made. If you have made them all, you must choose among those you have made the least. Right, so in terms of discoveries, he has discovered all of them so far, but he's only got 1 sacred stone and 1 ritual object. So I think we're going to go for another ritual object. Right, and then that's Ajua's journey to the next adventure done. Then we have to deal with Mary, and Mary, I think we're still going to go for through the thriving jungle in the hope of obtaining a medicinal plant. So with this particular route you roll a d8, so she's got a success as well. The journey takes 3 months. A failure would have meant 4. Roll 1d6 for each bearer. Each success reduces the time by 1 month. So she has 2 bearers. And 2 successes. So that means that she had taken 3 months, so she's now down to 1 month. So far it's taken 13 months to get this far, so that's pretty good. So that's still the highest score that you can make. She needs to take up to 18 months to do worse. And then on the random events chart we roll another d8 and that's a 3. That reads, you come across a small village, 1 inhabitant of which decides to join you. Add 1 auxiliary to your expedition. Tick off the appropriate box on your travel log. Right, well, I think in the campaign that means she's allowed another. Yeah, I mean it certainly does, because there are multiple boxes for bearers. In a normal game you wouldn't be allowed to have, I don't believe you're allowed to have more than 2 bearers. I'll have to check that. But anyway, we're going to play it that she's got another bearer for the next scenario. And now we're on to the game itself. Right, so the setup for the 6th and final scenario, which is called the Mountain of the Gods, is that each column, you're looking at Mary's column at the moment, is positioned in an area kind of just off the centre of the table. So that is Ajua's column there. They're separated by a large area of blocking terrain so that can't be entered. There are also on the table 6 dangerous terrain areas, so that's one of them. Each one contains a numbered hint. So I'm using the tokens that I was using for the discoveries previously. So there are 6 of those, numbered from 1 to 6, obviously. And the idea is that the columns have to find these hints, and they are clues as to the whereabouts of caves and shortcuts, etc., on the actual mountain itself, which they're going to climb at the end of the campaign. And if I remember rightly, the hints are specific to each side. So the odd numbered hints are Ajuwa's clues, and the even numbered ones are Mary's. And you basically have to find a hint and then get it off of the table, and it will give you advantages. And you have to leave by the opposite table edge, and those hints are going to help you with the final climbing of the mountain at the end. But there are also 6 areas of blocking terrain. This is one of them, and as you can see, each of those will have a token on it. There's another one there, and those act as discoveries, just like previous scenarios. The only difference being that they're not numbered. I'm using the loot tokens to portray them. They're not numbered, and once they're found, it's up to the player to decide what kind of discovery they are. So that again will allow them to make up for items that they're missing or lacking on their log sheets. And I've already dealt the cards, still using the confusion rule in order to be able to play it solo that I've used in the past, and we're all set to go with phase 1 of turn 1 now. Right, Mary's group, or Mary's column rather, had a more kind of active phase then. They managed to move 5 groups by using a card, an action card and a totem card. The adventurers are approaching that blocking terrain there. Mary's group itself has entered this dangerous terrain without mishap. This group here entered this dangerous terrain more or less without mishap. Nothing actually. They rolled an event, but the event had no effect on them. Whereas over here, this group encountered a mudslide, which forced them to draw 2 stress tokens, but they didn't lose a figure. And what else happened? I think that was more or less it. Oh yeah, this group here have reached this blocking terrain but weren't able to pick up the token because they had picked up the pace, so they had extended their movement range, but they will be able to pick it up next phase. Over this side, Ajuwa's group, not so successful. Ajuwa himself tried to perform a ritual and failed, but not only that, because he failed, he had to sacrifice one of his groups in order not to die himself. And the pygmies the scouts moved into this terrain here, followed by the pygmies, so they were able to enter this dangerous terrain without having to roll on the dangerous terrain table. But the other group of pygmies did have to roll on the dangerous terrain book table there, and picked up a stress token, a movement stress token. And that is the end of phase 1 of turn 1. Okay, in phase 2 of turn 1, both sides have uncovered some hints, and fortunately for both sides, they are the appropriate numbers. So the Ascaris here on Mary's side have picked up number 2, which is an even number, which is useful to Mary. And on Ajuwa's side here, the Pygmies have picked up number 1, which is appropriate for Ajuwa there, and also number 3 there. So that's a pretty good turn for both, or phase of the turn for both sides. And a very rapid phase 3 of turn 1, because Mary's card wasn't usable, and Ajuwa's card was an influence card, and he successfully terrorised the Rugga Rugga here, who picked up a stress token, and also the Adventurers, who failed their D8 bravery roll, and they've also picked up a stress token. And now we're on to turn 2. Okay, nothing but movement in that first phase of turn 2. So the Pygmies are moving towards the opposite table edge now, with their respective tokens, hints as they were. The Scouts, these Bunduki are moving towards that, blocking terrain. This group of young warriors has entered this dangerous terrain and got away with it. So they're approaching that other hint there. And on this side, the Adventurers have picked up a discovery, and the Rugga Rugga have collected their discovery and are now moving towards the opposite table edge. In this turn, there is a downpour as well, so ranges are reduced, and the effect of shooting stress tokens is doubled as well, so the Adventurers are disadvantaged in shooting even more than they would have been. So they're now within range of those Pygmies, so there might well be some shooting between them. But anyway, that was all that happened in phase 1 of turn 2. Okay, in phase 2 of turn 2, the Adventurers failed to rally off their stress token. Mary's group uncovered another hint, but unfortunately it's an odd one, so that hint's only useful to Ajuwa. Ajuwa's side have moved quite a lot of groups in this turn, so these archers are threatening the Adventurers now. These warriors are moving up, and this group of young warriors picked up another hint here, but again it's not appropriate to their side because it's an even number, and this group of Bundukis have picked up a discovery. So probably a more successful phase for Ajuwa. Okay, in that final phase of turn 2, not a great deal happened other than the archers here inflicted several casualties on the Adventurers. As you can see, the bearer is missing because they chose to sacrifice him as one of the casualties. Another casualty, they used their reckless rule so that they drew some stress tokens, and then in their part of the phase, rather than shoot, because they had a panic stress token on them, they chose to rally instead, and rallied off a couple of their stress tokens, and then I've removed the panic stress token as well because it's now the end of the turn, and what they're left with is they're minus the bearer, but they've got rid of all of their stress tokens apart from one, so they might be in better shape to deal with these native troops that are approaching them in the next turn. Well, in phase 1 of turn 3, nearly all the actions taking place in this small area here. The adventurers have been really badly shot up again, but survived by drawing stress tokens to get additional cover, and also they took one casualty from an automatic casualty from the poisoned arrows of the pygmies, and again survived that automatic casualty by drawing another 2 stress tokens, so they are now on 4 stress tokens, which is not a good situation to be in. And apart from that, the only other thing that happened was that these Rugga failed to rally off that stress token there. So now we're on to phase 2 of turn 3. Well, predictably, in that phase, the adventurers are no more. They were engaged in melee by these archers here, who beat them decisively, and they had to take so many casualties and pick up so many stress tokens that they were removed from the table. And other than that, Mary's side played this card here. It was too late to remove any stress tokens from the adventurers, but they did manage to remove one from the Rugga and impose one both on the scouts there, who now can't move for the rest of the turn, and the young warriors here. Now we're on to the final phase of turn 3. Final phase of turn 3 then, and the soldiers with Mary there have shot at these approaching archers and managed to kill one of them, and other than that, quite a lot of movement on this side, so these groups are all beginning to move a little bit closer to the other side of the table. And now we're on to turn 4. Well, some appalling dice rolling from the duo in that phase. He failed to save, even adding lots of totem card dice, failed to save hits on his group there, and he's now down to himself. He's managed to survive himself, but he's down to one archer, and that was all from shooting from the soldiers in the terrain here. And he also failed to pass his ritual this turn, so absolutely appalling phase for Juba there. Okay, the Juba's group narrowly escaped destruction on that turn. They were shot up again a lot by the soldiers, but threw lots of additional dice into their cover rolls and managed to survive, and then in their own part of the phase moved backwards, whereas the pygmies now have moved up to take their place and give them a little bit of cover, and hopefully inflict some damage on the soldiers in return now. And the action's sort of heating up over this side of the table now, where there's a lot of groups coming into proximity with one another. Mainly the reporter and his group of young warriors are now encircled by hostile tribes, and excuse me, and some of the other groups beginning to move up to their respective objectives now, and we're on to the final phase of turn 4. Now in the final phase of turn 4, the reporter's group of young warriors is taking a lot of hits from thrown spears and shot arrows, and they actually decided to sacrifice the bearer as one of the casualties. But again, this is another situation where this group is in trouble now from all these surrounding hostile units. So turn 5 next. So the reporter's managed to extricate himself from that tricky situation, but he's down to himself and one solitary young warrior with him now. These Rugga have moved up to try and help, as are the Askari there. They're moving up as well, and these groups on this side did nothing except throw spears and shoot arrows at that group with the reporter. So that's more or less everything that happened in that turn. Other than, I keep forgetting to say, but Aju is doing quite well at casting rituals at the moment, and that's all kind of adding to his stock of totem cards, which are coming in handy, and it will help at the end of the game as well. Well, the Rugga have got badly mauled in a melee now, and are down to 2 figures. They got beaten up by these warriors here, who've now got the discovery that the Rugga previously owned, and the reporter and his solitary tribesmen with him are beating a retreat still. Whereas over here, the Kirangoz's group now decide, because they've got an appropriate numbered hint, they've decided to try and get off the table with it. And the only thing standing in their way at the moment are these Bunduki. So there's possibility there, but there's only one more phase of turn 5 to go. And then one more turn definitely, but from the start of turn 7 the game could end, so there's not much time left for them to get off the table. It's looking less likely that the Juwa's groups, I don't know, maybe the Pygmies could get off there, or this group here, they might be able to make an escape with one of those. Let's see what happens. And at the end of turn 5, bit of a disaster for Mary's side now. The Askari there tried to bash their way through here and got defeated in melee by the Bunduki, even though they outnumbered them. Consequently, the Bundukis have won the hint from them, and they're kind of, the whole side is really moving up now. So the Pygmies here have moved up a little bit. Mary's group came out of the cover and tried to melee them and did really badly, and they're now over here, the Pygmies that is, but then the other half of the Pygmies are sneaking their way around, so they have a chance. They've got one turn to try and get off the table now, so they may do it. And again here, these warriors are threatening the 2 remaining Rugga there. So it definitely looks like it's going the Juwa's way in terms of combats won and so on, but whether he'll actually win the game on the victory points or not, any time will tell. So now on to turn 6. Right, so in the first phase of turn 6, the Pygmies have used the totem card to extend their movement distance and are very close to getting off the middle of this table edge here. The other Pygmies, other half of the group, keep getting attacked by Mary's soldiers, but equaling, they're coming out equal in the melee, so they're simply being forced to sort of pull back. Whereas here, these warriors completely wiped out the Rugga Rugga. So it's another. Mary's definitely coming off worse in terms of combat, and it looks like the Jew is going to win on victory points as well. Anyway, see how it goes. Well, the Jew has got one half group of pygmies off the table with a hint marker. The other group here are unlikely to get off the table now, but it depends how long turn 7 goes on for. We've got one more phase of turn 6 to go. These warriors are really beginning to threaten that small group of reporters now, and then the rest of Mary's figures are over here. The Askari are sort of equal kind of match for the Bunduki, but haven't done very well against them. And then there's the soldiers there who don't have, I mean, it's unlikely they're going to get off their end of the table now, but they don't have the appropriate hint marker anyway. So it's definitely looking, so it's going a Jewa's way. Anyway, one more phase of turn 6 to go, and then we roll to see if the game continues. And in the last phase of turn 6, the Kirangozi has been killed. The Bunduki on the right there fired their muskets into the Askari and caused one casualty, and the terrifying death roll determined that it was the Kirangozi who was taken off the table. So that's even worse news now for Mary. But anyway, we're now into turn 7. So this turn 7 will end on a successful roll of, so 5 or above on a D8. And it's a 5, so that is the end of the game. So just going to count up victory points and so on, but I'm pretty sure this one's gone a Jewa's way as well. Right, well, Mary's side were absolutely obliterated during that game. I may have scored this slightly incorrectly because the wording is a little bit ambiguous, but however you top the dice up, she actually came out with negative points because she lost 2 bearers, 2 auxiliaries during the game, and you subtract points for that. And she only, at the end of the game, she was only in possession of 2 of the hints, one of which was appropriate for her side and the other wasn't. So even if you give her a score for the hint that didn't belong to her side, she still comes out of the game with -2 points. And if you score it in the same manner for a Jewa, he actually ended up with 32 points, so a resounding victory for a Jewa. So we can circle that there as a victory for him, and it means that at the end of the campaign they were 3 games each. Now, other things to keep track of. The Jewa successfully performed 4 rituals, so he's up to 8 points for that. He had discovered 4 discoveries, and you're allowed to choose which ones you want them to be. So I think we're going to say definitely sacred stones, so he can gain points for that. If I give him 2 of them as magical plants, that will take him up to 8 point score for that. So you got 1 more, and whichever way we do it, it's not going to push him beyond anything there. Maybe I should have put them all on this one. Never mind. Anyway, so we give him another ritual objects. Don't think it's going to make a big difference at this point. Now, he didn't actually, the way it's worded, let's just get it out again. It says, if a doer leaves the table by exit point B, he acquires knowledge in one domain, and he didn't. So I don't think he's gained any domains of knowledge. And that's the only other thing we've got to take account of during this game. So now it's on to Mary's disastrous total. Okay, now Mary's game was a bit of a disaster. She didn't make any discoveries. She certainly didn't win the game. The Kirangozi was eliminated from the game, so we have to roll a d6 for him, and if he doesn't get a 5 or a 6, then he goes down in state of health. Yeah, it goes down one state of health. So he is now poorly. I think, I'm not entirely sure, but I think that, well, yeah, it will. It'll have a -1 effect on the overall score. And as for the bearers, she lost 2 bearers. Now you do the similar thing with them. If they fail, though, they're just eliminated from her retinue. They don't deteriorate in health. So they both failed. So she's down to 1 bearer now. So we can rub off 2 of the bearers. And as I say, I think she didn't leave the board either. Excuse me. So she doesn't gain any knowledge. So that's the end of the summation of the victory points, etc., and the results of the game. So now we're on to this odd scenario at the end of the campaign, which is called Scaling the Throne of Thunder. So I'm going to deal with that in a separate video and give you my overall impressions of the campaign system and so on, the supplement for Congo in a separate video. So I'll see you on that. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.